Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Pearl Daily here on the Audacity Network. Today, we are going to be talking about what women do when they have no argument. So, for those of you that don't know, I moved from Chicago to England about 4 years ago now, and I started a YouTube show. And when I started this YouTube show, I really got a perspective on how the ladies are in dating. Now, you might think, Pearl, a YouTube show is not the same as getting laid. And okay, you guys are right. You guys are right. However, I would have to book women for shows, and we would talk about a lot of contentious topics. And this show blew up. It got 1 million subscribers in a year, another million in the second year, and it became one of the biggest YouTube shows in the country at the time. Now, it was absolutely insane because when I was going through this process, I really got an insight into the way that women react when they are angry. And I was looking at a show the other day, which was one of the first podcasts that I ever filmed. It was a trip down memory lane that got me thinking of all the women that I interviewed and the typical responses that I get from them asking questions or talking to them about anything that is contrary to feminist narrative. It got to the point where it was pretty much scripted. I could, tell what they were going to say before they even said it. They would say, Pearl, 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 Pearl. You hate women. And I would just think, kind of now after talking to you guys. Sorry. You're making me. I'm kidding. Pearl, you're a misogynist. Pearl, you're a pick-me, blah, 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 blah. I stopped the show years ago, and I'm thankful for it because you can't pay me to argue with these women every night. At one point, guys, we had 5+ women in 6 days a week. And I would see how inconsiderate they were. You would book them for a night and they would cancel an hour before. I would have to book double the amount of guests, double, to know how many would show up. So if I wanted 5 women, I'd have to book 10 because clockwork, half are going to show up, if that. And, recently I've been thinking of the typical responses that women would give to my content. Now, take into account, guys, that most people don't have valid arguments against my position. They have no arguments, so they resort to cheap tactics and insults. So let's break down the meaning of them. Now, the late and great Kevin Samuels coined the acronym SCI language, and I believe in this concept wholeheartedly. Because when talking about modern women, it's how they navigate serious discussions. And I will be borrowing his concept this show. So, number one is the pick-me response. Many women, especially older women, will call any woman that isn't a diehard feminist, that doesn't hate men, and doesn't advocate for a leftist agenda a pick-me. Like I've said on my previous shows, modern women make up new words or change the definition of words to reshape reality. They call me a pick-me to shame women that try to do what's necessary to get picked by a man of value. They call me a pick-me all the time because I advocate for men and because I want to be a wife and have a family. Number two, you just hate women. This is the easiest and lowest hanging response. It's the go-to for most women that don't have intellectual and emotional capability to argue back a point. It's purely emotional. And it's meant to trigger an emotional response. I mean, even the other day, I was in Candace Owens' chat, and she was telling me, you just hate women. All you do is hate on women. And if you're arguing with a modern woman and she says this, the discussion is over. She won't listen to you anymore. And all information that she is absorbing has stopped. She has literally brought a childlike argument tactics into an adult conversation. Most of the time, you can see this coming from a mile away. Make more than one good point in a row with a modern woman, and you can expect this response to come at some point. Shaming tactics are usually the second most common response from modern women. Pearl, you're not supposed to feel this way. You're a woman. A real woman wouldn't say the things you're saying. Shaming tactics have little to no intellectual capacity. Modern women use shaming as a tool to be able to sway your position with little to no evidence whatsoever. Remember, only women can shame. Shame is not a tactic that can be used by men in modern day because women do not listen to men and their criticisms enough to be shamed. I mean, if women listened to men's criticisms, we would all be 120 pounds. We wouldn't have 5+ tattoos and 2 different baby daddies. So the next on the agenda, we have guilt. Guilt is what a modern woman uses as an emotional manipulation tactic to make everyone but them responsible for something that is their fault. Modern women blame men for everything: the pay gap, the government, corporations, society in general. Everything is not their fault, and they will come up with all sorts of reasons why. Insults. This one is a layup. This is an easy one. Modern women will insult anyone that doesn't agree with them or their point of view, no matter how crazy it is. There is such an echo chamber with modern women that when the chamber is disrupted, many women cannot handle it, so they'll insult you. You know, I've been called every name in the book. Pearl, you're ugly. Pearl, you're too tall. Blah, 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 blah. It's to the point where I don't even hear it anymore. It's the same things. The need to be right. The need to be right refers to a psychological tendency where someone feels the strong compulsion to always be correct in their opinions or beliefs. This often stems from a fear of appearing wrong, a fragile ego, or a desire to maintain control of a situation. Female empowerment in America's universities created women that need to be right at all costs. These women need to feel like they are right more than actually being right. And many of them have some high-priced piece of paper to enforce their bad decision-making process that gets them in trouble throughout their lives. I would argue that the need to be right makes most modern women unattractive to the men that they want. No man who's had to work hard to become a success wants to deal with a woman that's never right, but feels she has to prove some point that doesn't need to be proven. Let's see most of the responses to my content and evaluate what tactic they are using. But before I start, guys, I have been demonetized on YouTube, so go to theaudacitynetwork.com. That's theaudacitynetwork.com. 1 yearly membership will support the show. And I also do read the chat on the website if you want to have your comment read. Bongoon the first says evening oil. That's theaudacitynetwork.com. It's the first link in the description, and we are on the Apple App Store. So wow, we got this lady right here. Can I just who's doing her? Who's doing it in the chat? Because I don't know what it is with the overweight women having the confidence to insult me the way that they do. Somebody's doing it. One of you is stepping up to the place and taking her home at 2 a.m. I don't know who it is, but it's one of you. Does she make cookies? Oh my God. Wow, you're considering it? You're considering? Oh my gosh.
Picked. Hello everyone, I'm Sarah from Everyday Starlet. Welcome to my channel.
Now mind you, this woman made a 55-minute video about me. I guess I can't really blame her. I'm pretty cool. There's a lot to talk about, you know what I mean?
I make videos to inspire you to be the star of your own life. I want to talk about a trending topic online, and that is, why does Pearl not get picked? I have intentionally avoided talking about Pearl. If you don't know who I'm talking about Hannah Pearl Davis from Just Pearly Things. I avoided talking about her for a while because I really didn't want to give her more attention. And
you avoided talking about me. You did a 55-minute video. You could have did a 10-minute video. I mean, my whole show is an hour. And oftentimes I have multiple topics. Okay.
Don't. I'm still very conflicted about this. I've mentioned her a little bit in my video about being a recovering pick-me girl, which is my story, and kind of why pick-me's don't generally get picked. You want to check out that video for a little bit more info on that. I just kind of touched on Pearl's content a little bit.
Joel says he wouldn't do it if she was the last woman on earth. Really, not the, I mean, the last woman, if you had no other choice. Neil says, I'll never do it. Who's capping? Somebody's doing it. I don't know who it is. There's someone in the chat that's doing it. There's somebody that would sign up because this confidence is incredible.
In that video, but there's been a lot of talk online about Pearl being kind of this, I don't really even know what she'd call herself, but she talks a lot about relationships and things, you know, dynamics between men and women, yet she's not in a relationship, and she, I think, has never been in a relationship.
Oh my, I have a boyfriend. I mean, you know what's crazy? For like a year now, I've been dating the same guy, but it's not really been public till recently. And I've just had to deal with these fat women telling me that anyways, it's okay. It's okay.
And men are not really going after her, even though she seems to be creating her content. So
Pearl Reed. Oh, is this fat woman saying that I don't have men after me? Now look, I'm not saying I'm the best looking, and you know, this is insult to insult. But what, you're fat. Who are you? Bon Gone says, Pearl Reed, I wonder how many men this tubster has thirsting after her jelly rolls in her chat.
Solely to cater to men, to bash women and cater to men. If she is supposedly giving all this information that men want to hear and saying all these things that men want to hear, why is she herself not finding a man? A lot of people have a lot of theories surrounding this. There's some very popular ones, and then there's also some obscure ones.
Oh my gosh.
I actually think there's a very specific reason for this that I want to dive into, and it's actually kind of a simple explanation, but I want to talk a little bit about...
I mean, does this woman have a boyfriend? Does she look like... Okay.
This phenomenon, this question, and kind of the idea of like why pick-me's don't get picked. First of all, if you're not familiar with what a pick-me is, I have a video going into this deeper, so you can go check out that video. But in reality, a pick-me usually is in reference to women, although I do think there is a male application to it. But in this case, I'm primarily speaking about women who essentially will do anything for male validation, do anything to get attention from men or chosen by a man or men in general.
Okay, where is this video for the women on OnlyFans? Okay, I have opinions she disagrees with. Where is this energy for the women that are literally selling their bodies to men? Why don't they get called pick-me's?
And usually will sacrifice themselves or sacrifice other women, or basically do anything, even if it is out of character or even harmful to them or harmful to women in general, solely to get acceptance or validation from men or a particular man. It's not a healthy state. This is not just about wanting a relationship or wanting to be in a relationship. And I have a series of disclaimers I'm going to get into before we get into this video. But the first one I want to get into is...
Can you fix it?
Is if you are desiring a relationship, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to tell anybody out there who is like, hey, I want a man, I want a relationship, I want to be in a relationship with a man.
Okay, this is what she's going to say. Want a relationship, but don't do the things it takes to get into a relationship. Don't do anything for him. But luckily, ladies, I do have a solution for us. You know, the finishing school for modern women holds importance in today's society as it equips women with essential skills and knowledge that contribute to their personal and professional growth. It focuses on refining social etiquette, grace, and cultural refinement, enabling women to navigate various social situations with confidence and charm. A finishing school for ladies helps women develop social confidence, build valuable networks, and project timeless elegance in their personal and professional lives. Use code PEARL for 50% off at www.teachablemomentswithmaggie.com. That's www.teachablemomentswithmaggie.com. And by the way, for the two women that watch me, Maggie is the real deal. She's been on my show, and she's so awesome. So my 2 cents, I do endorse this finishing school, but I'm going to continue.
man and I want to be in partnership and I want to find love, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you don't want that and you're like, I'm happy being single, I'm happy not being in a relationship, that's cool too. And I'm going to talk a lot in this video kind of about the idea of like what men want and what men are looking for and like why men are attracted to certain women and why they're not. I want to make it clear that this is really for educational purposes for women to be aware. But if you're a woman who's watching this and going, I don't care what men want, fine. I am not at all saying that women need to pay attention to what men want. If you want,
Oh my God, get to it. Oh my goodness. There's no wonder that you have 37,000 subscribers. My God.
you're going to attract, you might even attract that person that you're trying to attract by becoming something else, but it's not going to be a solid, true, deep connection and like a healthy relationship because you're just pretending to be something that you're not. I also want to say that
Will I get hate speech if I say, mm, I'm going to type something in the chat on the website? I can't say it on YouTube, but chat on the website on theaudacitynetwork.com. I'm going to say what I'm going to say. Should there be, I can't read this part, a blank for blank in society? It's under Santiago because I forgot my login. But it's me.
that I do understand because Pearl is she's very cruel to women very often. She's very insulting to
Okay, if you're fat, just say that. That's why she's mad.
women. She tends to blame women for everybody's problems. She tends to say things that are very controversial and very insulting towards women in general, or sometimes just insult a specific type of woman or insult a specific group of women or insult an individual woman. And she is very insulting, which, I really do believe is really for clicks and views because she knows that that's going to get more attention. It's very easy when you're talking about someone who does those things to get very insulting towards them. And I understand why people tend to take that route, because when you have someone who's out there like spewing hate and saying a lot of negative things about people or a group of people, it's very easy to then jump to, I'm going to insult them. But I don't want to approach this from that place. I try to never approach my content from a place of like hate or hate matching hate or as like a hit piece or trying to shoot anybody down or anything like that. So like, I don't want to go at this with like cheap shots against her. I want to look at the situation more as a chance.
I have been listening for 6 minutes and gotten nothing.
Is that she has very low self-esteem and that she...
There you go, number one. You have low self-esteem. I would argue that you have low self-esteem because you won't get on the treadmill. How is the woman with a pound of makeup on, fake hair, and overweight telling me I have low self-esteem? I'm going to speed this up to 1.5 as a request of Doug on the website.
She was considered herself like the ugly friend or the friend that didn't get much attention when she was younger and things like that, from boys specifically. I have a great deal of empathy for women who, because this is so common, most women have some level of self-esteem issues. As a woman...
Okay. There was a clip of me years ago talking about how I wasn't the best looking friend in my friend group. How many of you were the best looking friend in your friend group? Only, a man could say that. And nobody, like everyone would say, yeah, you're not. Now, I never thought I was ugly. But isn't that the experience of most people if you're a normal person? That somebody's going to be better looking than... It's okay. It's not the end of the world. Oh my goodness.
Who's also had very low self-esteem in her life, and I think a lot of women can relate to that. I have a great deal of empathy for her. I don't agree with what she says. I don't agree with the way that she is dealing with that situation. I don't agree with the message that she's putting out, because I do think that it is a very dangerous message of blaming women for everything and blaming women for everyone's problems and spewing a lot of things that are actually very dangerous, I think, as far as the message goes. And I'm not going to dive too much into her message because that's not really the point of this video, but I am going to approach this from a certain level of empathy, because as much as, like, I would never go on Piers Morgan and say that women shouldn't vote, because I've never believed that, and I don't think that that's...
I can't talk about that on this platform. But that sounds like a reasonable thing to say. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. That's a reasonable thing.
A good message to be putting out in the world. I know from my past, and having been a pick-me girl in my younger years, like, I have definitely said some things that were more
I bet she was thinner in her younger years. Doug's on the website says she went from sounding like a whale to sounding like a pig at 1.5 speed. Crazy Kyle, I hear fat talking. Why can't I eat more? I was just thinking, does pick me shame a woman for doing stuff that men would actually appreciate for their spouse? I just can't. Pearl, she's showing her butt crack under her chin, but saying you have low self-esteem. She's giving a 15-minute pre-ramble. I know.
Misogynistic, or held certain beliefs that were definitely more misogynistic, because I thought it would get me more male attention, or it would get me liked by more guys and things like that. So, like, I have a certain level of empathy for that. Now, I think Pearl has taken it to the extreme. She makes a lot of money off of it. She makes a lot of money doing this stuff that's very controversial. And
I've been demonetized for a year, fatty. You made more on this video than me.
I mean, I know she was demonetized, so I don't really know what her financial situation is now, but she has made a lot of money on this. A lot more money than I've ever made on social media. So I will acknowledge that, because that tends to be what gets attention online, is the controversial stuff. So I understand, and I do.
Someone said, Dane said she had to be thinner in her younger years. No way she could have been fatter.
Have a certain level of empathy for her. I also have some theories about her family life from what I've heard about her family dynamic in her home life. I'm not going to dive into that, but I do feel, I'm just going to leave it that I do feel a certain level of empathy for her, because I think that a lot of the stuff that she's doing is actually coming from, I don't necessarily want to say a trauma response, and I know she would argue that the word trauma is overused and she would make fun of that and everything, so I'm not going to really dive into that, but I have empathy for how she ended up where she is. I don't agree with it, but I want to approach this from a place of empathy. All right, I'm going to get into the common reasons that people give for why Pearl is not in a relationship and why men are not interested in dating Pearl, even though she tends to.
Do you guys know how easy it is to get into a relationship as a woman? Even this, which one of you in the chat is doing her? They said, don't be disrespectful. That's Miss Fatty. Oh my goodness.
To gear her entire life and content solely around catering to men and being this ultimate pick-me. One of the reasons that people often give is because Pearl is too masculine, and she's not going to attract a masculine man because she's not feminine enough. Now, let me break down this explanation a little bit. I have a lot of videos talking about masculine and feminine energies. When I talk about masculine and feminine energies, I don't think this is actually what the people that point this out are actually saying. But masculine and feminine energies are found in everybody. Like, we all contain both energies, but masculine and feminine energies, the opposite energies attract. Same energies repel. So two people in masculine energy are going to repel sexually. Two people in feminine energy are going to repel sexually. But a masculine energy and a feminine energy are going to attract sexually. That goes for men and women. You can also be in wounded or healed versions of either of these energies, and I'm not going to dive into wounding right now in this video, but a lot of other videos diving into that. Is Pearl, in her content, very masculine? Yes, she is. Most of her content is often debates and things like that. It's often a lot of conflict. That is very masculine. I'm not saying that women can't debate.
It is. Okay.
Okay, because again, this is not about gender, this is about energetics. When she is presenting her content, she tends to be in a very masculine energy. So yes, a man who is more...
Okay, now she's calling me masculine, manly. I mean, she's just going to keep going. And again, this is the insult. This is, you say thing I don't like, therefore I will call you names instead of attacking the argument. Okay, we're going to move on to the next one unless you guys are dying. Dane, Pearl, empathy for how she ended up where she is. World famous, physically fit, successful, well-educated, private education, has a dowry, and she has empathy for you for having a great father. Dane, you're too kind.
Masculine who is there showing up for a debate, probably not going to have a lot of sexual chemistry with her, because you're going to have two masculine energies that are going to be in a debate. Now, again, and I've mentioned this in other videos before, I don't think anybody should be living their entire life solely just to sexually attract a partner. There's times in your life, for men and women, where being in your masculine energy is just more appropriate, or being in your feminine energy is just more appropriate. I do believe that the majority of women are naturally feminine at their core, and the majority of men are naturally masculine at their core, and that most women are going to operate the best in their feminine energy and when they're in their feminine energy most of the time, and most men are going to operate their
Now,
best
this
when
is
they're in their masculine
essentially
energy and
she's saying you're
primarily are in their masculine
manly, you're
energy most of the
manly.
time. But I do believe it's good for men and women to have a healthy connection with both energies. The fact that when Pearl makes this content, she is very much embodying her masculine energy makes perfect sense. Of course she would. So when she's presenting this content, she isn't necessarily going to be sexually attracting a masculine partner, which
Pearl, this woman talking at 1.5 speed is giving us an image of what she would look like if she actually worked out at the gym. What is she?
you know, I guess if that's the reason she's making this content, then yeah, she's probably failing at her purpose. But if she's actually trying to have a debate, whether you agree with her or not, if she is showing up to debate someone, and that's the purpose of what she's doing, embodying her masculine energy, not a bad thing to do. That's an appropriate time to be using your masculine energy. The problem with the argument that that's why Pearl's not attracting a man doesn't really hold weight in that situation, because for one, that's one area of her life. So if she's embodying masculine energy in that area of her life, but in other areas of her life she's embodying her feminine energy, then she would attract a man in other areas of her life. If, you know, she's out in the world and she's connecting to her feminine energy, she would attract a masculine man. Also, there are a lot of women that embody a lot of masculine energy in most of their lives, because it's very common nowadays for women to be very much in their masculine energy. A lot of them are in relationships. They're probably going to attract a man who has a deeper connection to his feminine energy. And, you know,
So again, she's saying you can't get a guy, you're single, da da da. But she cannot attack what I am saying. Pearl, 1.5 makes her sound like she has bipolar disorder and is having a full-blown manic episode. Have mercy, please. It's up to two people to decide if there is chemistry. So what are you prattling on about? Brian, this woman is giving you free airtime on her program. I wonder who she preaches to and what her audience is. It's got to be women. We harpoon whales over here. Get her, guys.
I'm not going to get into that and the reverse polarity and things like that, because I have other videos about that. I'm not going to dive into that here. But there are a lot of very masculine women who attract men and are in relationships. So the fact that Pearl embodies more masculine energy doesn't take her out of the dating pool. It just means that most likely, if she is embodying that masculine energy more of the time, she's going to be less likely to attract a very masculine partner, a very grounded masculine partner. She's going to be more likely to attract men than embody more feminine energy, which is ironic because the manosphere, as much as they preach masculinity, tend to have a greater attachment to their feminine energy. And I'm not going to talk about that in this video. I have other videos talking about that, so that's not for this video. But
yeah, so now she doesn't like the manosphere. So she's saying, well, they're girly. They have feminine energy. But again, it's just a shaming tactic. She's saying, I don't like that you're telling men that I am not wifeable. That's what she's saying. Dane said, really though, Dad, he worked hard to lead his family and it shows. She was raised by a single mother or a weak, passive father.
Pearl embodying a lot of masculine energy is not going to rule her out of the dating pool. And the thing that I find really ironic, Pearl seems to be kind of putting it out there that she'll take anyone. So it's not like she's being that particular. So it's not necessarily like she's saying she will only take the most masculine man. She seems to be giving off this energy of like, I would take anyone. It's not like a more feminine man would be someone she would write off her list. Like she's not giving off the energy that she's being that particular, which is a factor which I'll get to in a minute. I would also point out that there are other content creators who are similar to Pearl in content, and I would say also in approach and things like that. I see a lot of names thrown around of people that have similar content. I don't watch a lot of that content. The only other one that I'm really familiar with that I can think of as a comparison would be Candace Owens, who has that very, like, she's big into debates, she's very combative, they have very similar points of view, they both kind of seem to be worshiping Andrew Tate, so they have a lot of similarities in that. I think there are other commentators, but Pearl and Candace Owens are the two that I'm more familiar with. Candace Owens has a very similar, like, aggressive approach. When she's on camera and she's doing her job, she tends to embody very masculine energy. She has a husband and a family. And again, I don't really know what Candace Owens is like off camera or anything, so I don't know if, like, when she's at home with her family, if she embodies more feminine energy, and I don't really know much about her husband or anything like that. But I think it's important to point out that just because Pearl embodies a lot of masculine energy in her sort of work space doesn't necessarily rule her out from having a relationship with a man. When she's working and she's in that masculine energy, she's probably not going to attract a masculine man, but that doesn't mean that she is completely has no chances of being in a relationship with somebody. Now, there are a couple other aspects to Pearl's personality that I do think are inhibiting her from actually being in a relationship.
She goes on for 55 minutes. First person to super chat on the website, I'll stop it. First super chat on the website, I will stop it. Yeah, You can donate on the website. I will stop. $10. I'll stop her. I'll stop this video.
One thing is her hypocrisy. And again, like I said, I don't know how authentic her content actually is, whether she believes it or whether she doesn't, but she does tend to have a lot of hypocritical arguments. She tends to throw in any argument that she thinks might win a debate or be controversial or things like that. So there's an aspect of authenticity there that is very unclear. And generally speaking, as
Pearl, every time she buys something, even like a car, she has to taste it and it'll make her feel good in her belly. She'll buy it.
humans, we tend
If she had a nickname, it would be Jowls.
to be on alert for contradictions and hypocrisy and authenticity. Even if we don't necessarily, like, even if it's not obviously in front of us, there's usually going to be a part of us that's going to
Do
feel.
you know what's so crazy? So, men naturally can understand hierarchy. So, if a guy says, LeBron James isn't the greatest of all time, nobody says, hey, you can't shoot a basketball. You're terrible. But women, it's like if I say men don't like old, fat, single mothers, they say, but Pearl, you attack Pearl, attack Pearl, attack Pearl. And I'm like, what did I say that was untrue? Pearl, we know this is torturing you more than us. We can mute.
Like something
Can you imagine if that woman smashed into the earth? We'd all be done for.
is not right. Anyone who's operating,
Get some salad in your life. You guys have a lot of heat for her.
inauthentically or very hypocritically, for most people, there's going to be some kind of a warning sign there, even if you're not totally fully aware of what that is. Now, of course, there are things like trauma bonding and aspects like that that tend to make us drawn to people who might be inconsistent or tend to be more manipulative or things like that, which is actually more of a trauma response. So
Trauma bonding, when women say stuff like that, it's how they rationalize going for alphas. It's like, oh, why did I go for this serial killer, this drug dealer? And they call it trauma bonding, but it's just our wiring. Yeah, no one ever calls Pearl a liar. They say, no way, no one donated from 700. Well, I get it. You guys don't want to download the app and go to this off-party site, even though you should. You really should. It's $80 a year, unlimited supers, $10 a month. And all you got to do is put Pearl Read on the website. I read it. And you can download it on the App Store.
it's not like people who are inauthentic or hypocritical can't be in relationships. So I don't necessarily think that's what's keeping Pearl out of a relationship.
Pearl, she is displaying a mental illness, analyzing external environment with the goal of boosting her self-worth. I see you found your January fat calendar, girl.
Do you think that that's going to keep people a bit distant from her? Because, and she's not alone in this, mind you. A lot of the manosphere is very hypocritical, and I actually have a lot of requests to do a video all about the hypocrisy of the manosphere. But because she's very hypocritical, and also she's not really consistent in what she even expects from women. I mean, there's kind of ties to the more like traditional Christian trad wife thing, but then she's also got arguments about women paying their own way, but then also women's work is not as important. Like, there's so many inconsistencies.
No. I want to be so clear. I say pick one. I say, if you delay marriage, odds are you will not be a housewife. And you are not in a traditional marriage if you wait until 32 to have a kid. Totally fine. I don't think it's wrong to do that. As a woman, as a guy, you can go get a hot young thing. You guys have all the time. You could be a trad husband at 50 if you want. You guys have all the time in the world. On the other hand, if you want to go trad, get it done before 25. Because only like 18% of women get it. Pearl, it won't accept my card. I'll owe you, honest. Yeah, I've heard that one before.
Consistencies in her arguments.
Look I have a Cash App, or a Venmo. Let me see. Let me get is my Venmo in the chat? Let's put your money where your mouth is. I'll take Venmo, just _ Pearly things. This girl could get to 30-year-old 5 with lots of work. Women have a 1 to 10 ranges based on age category. Pearl. So how many men Is she dating, married to? Any commitment from men? Perhaps she just needs help. Well, go to Maggie's finishing school, www.teachablemomentswithmaggie.com, and use my name Pearl for 50% off. Pearl, you should clearly ask her to be your Valentine. She's clearly infatuated with you. Pearl gifted $9.99. We got enough of this. Bongoon, for the love of, stop it for the love of Pete. Bongoon, that's $2. I said 10. I don't see the gift of, okay, wait, let's see. Nope, I don't have anything on the PayPal. We keep going. We keep the fat woman going.
People in general, even if you're agreeing with some of the stuff that she's saying, there's always going to be that thing in your brain that's going to be like, okay, something is off here. And I think that's going to be off-putting for people. Doesn't mean that people like that won't get into relationships. So I don't think that's really the key point, but that is something that's going to keep people hesitant from getting involved with somebody, especially somebody who is like sort of mentally healthy and mentally stable. The fact that she's talked about women not being able to cook, but then she's talked about not being able to cook, you know, women spending so much time focusing on their careers when she's primarily been focused on her careers. Like, she's been shaming women for all the things that.
No, 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 no. I say that's modern. Look it, modern isn't good or bad. It's not right or wrong. And by the way, I can cook. I'm a decent cook. So let's not. But two, it's not right or wrong. But pick one. And if you pick one and expect the other, that's delusion. Pearl, pay how much she wants. 8, how much she weighs. Pearl, pass me your ETC wallet number. What is an ETC? Is that like Bitcoin or something? I don't know.
That she embodies, and she's attracted.
The Venmo is just _ Pearly things. I think I have Cash App. You guys, I get locked out of things a lot. Oh yeah, I do have Cash App. Pearly things, PearlyThings, and I'll stop her. I'll stop the fat lady.
Attracting an audience of men that actually
I
don't
need
like the
$8
things
more
that she's embodying.
raised.
And that's not to say there's a lot of men out there that don't care if a woman can cook, or that are okay with being with a career woman, may even actually want to be with a career woman. But unfortunately, like, Pearl's message and the people she's targeting are men who think that a woman that embodies the things that she embodies are not really what they want. And so her audience of men that she's catering to are not the type of men that are going to be attracted to her, and she's shaming women for doing.
Now she's saying, Pearl, you're manly and ugly.
Things that she's doing. That goes into the hypocrisy also, and the inauthenticity. But also, she's almost trying to win over an audience of men and be a pick-me for men that aren't going to pick her. That's not to say there aren't men out there who would pick her, but those are not the men that she is targeting. And she's also, because she's targeting the men that would hate on her, she's not surrounding herself with men that would pick her, for one, but also she's really alienating the types of men that.
Like, I'm not trying to be rude. I've gotten a marriage proposal on a first date. It's like happened to me. It's not that hard as a woman. Oh my God. Okay. I'm going to just.
That might actually be interested in a woman who is, you know, in her age range, for a woman who has a career that is very outspoken. There are women out there that embody those things that actually do find partners. But she is specifically targeting a different type of guy that's going to find the things that she embodies to be.
Okay, I get it. Insult. Can we get to
and
the
she's doing that.
the
She's making a lot of money doing
disagreement?
it. But those guys are not going to want to date her because they're just seeing her as like an ally. They're not.
Pearl, I feel bad for calling this woman a whale. Insulting such beautiful, majestic creatures. I'm going to expose you to BuzzFeed for torturing your male viewers. This could be classified as cruel and unusual punishment, I'm sure.
Not seeing her as a woman that they would pick because she's specifically targeting guys that don't want the things that she brings to the table. I hate that term, bring to the table, but like the things that she embodies herself. She's specifically targeting men who don't want those things. So she's saying that women should cater to men, but she's not really catering to these men. And I'm not saying she should be catering to these men. She's not. Now, that's not to say that there aren't men out there who would want the things that she embodies, but she's not targeting those men as her primary audience. Now, that doesn't mean that she can't meet a man who actually is looking for the things that she has to offer in everyday life. She's just probably not going to meet it in the workplace, because in the workplace, she's targeting an audience of men that are not looking for that. I also want to get into the root of pick-me behavior, let's be real, is usually low self-esteem. It's desperately needing
I knew that was coming. Low self-esteem.
validation from somebody. It can come across sometimes as being like an egomaniac, of being like really arrogant, but usually that is overcompensating for low self-esteem. And clearly Pearl has very low self-esteem. I'm not shaming her for that, because I know what it's like to have very low self-esteem.
Obviously. The treadmill. Oh my
I
goodness.
can identify with having very low self-esteem, particularly in my younger years. Something I've worked through my whole life. I'm not shaming her for this, and I actually have a lot of empathy for her for feeling this way. I actually wish she felt better about herself, because I feel like people who feel better about themselves don't feel like they need to take down all women in order to make themselves feel better about themselves. And I don't like the way that she goes about dealing with her low self-esteem. But I do think a lot of this is low self-esteem, and it's interesting how she's kind of essentially admitted that she wouldn't expect anything from a guy, that she would be okay with a guy cheating if he, was successful enough or whatever. Like,
I want to be realistic here. This is the one I always get. If you have a guy's kids and he cheats on you, what are you going to do? Leave? Good luck and date as a single mother. I'll just get over it. Jack De Niro paid the $10 and said, turn her off. Congratulations, Jack. I'm taking her off. Get this woman a bucket of chicken. She'll shut up. This woman appears to spend most of her thoughts insulting everyone else. Does she do this when she looks in the mirror? Well, okay. So the next one we have, I feel bad for Pearl because she's ugly and just not as hot as me.
Completely real and honest right now. It's not that Pearl is too masculine or argumentative. These men just think she's ugly. And I'm not trying to simplify it. In fact, I'm a big advocate of digging deeper.
Okay, this woman has a pound of makeup on, probably fake hair, and a filter. If you're going to call me ugly, I need to know what you look like. Fine, I'll be a 2. Am I wrong?
But the truth is, men will let you get away with a lot if they find you attractive. Prime example, I'm even more
That's true. She says I'm even more argumentative than Pearl.
argumentative than Pearl, especially to men. They can tell me an objective fact about themselves and I'll disagree for fun. You're from LA? No, you're not. You're 6'1", 5'10" at best.
Dane, Pearl is a pick-me who has been picked by 1.98 million times on YouTube alone with 43 viewers on her live right now. Thank you. You guys are my biggest hype people. Kenny, her head alone might make Pearl's leg. That girl is very, very big. Pearl, this woman is a bunny boiler. What does that mean? Hey, I spent my $10. Elliot, I turned the fat woman off. Now I have a thinner woman talking. What filter is this man body looking woman with her huge hands? Pearl, how come your Cash App shows as Thor? Do you know what? Did it do that? It might have did that when I did a donation for a while. Hold on, let me see. I wonder, let me see if maybe it might have been my team who did. I did a fundraiser for my friend Thor a while back, and we were accepting donations on Cash App. Where does it say Thor on my profile? That's weird. I don't know. Please read. This is so much makeup. It could be a dude under there, and we'd never know. Pearl, if this organized hatred campaign against you continues, you might end up as the 48th president. Orange man bad didn't work out well. Redhead woman bad might be your ticket to the top.
You know what? Those who find me pretty don't think I'm masculine. In fact,
they say what they need to say to have sex with you. This is where we learn the art of lying. Fellas, 1 in the chat if you've ever lied to get laid. Have you ever done it? Somebody called that fat woman thin. Somebody did it.
me a challenge, a character to conquer. It feels gross, and I think it's
A lot of 1s in the chat right now. Who lied about 5 in the chat? If you lied, you said there was a woman that you would never have sex with, but you did it. Put a 5 in the chat.
Pathetic. Here's my take. This whole thing proves how utterly useless it is to live for the desire and approval of men. Because you will only get male approval in one way, and it's not by agreeing with them, or chasing them, or giving them chances time and time again. It's by fitting a conventional standard of beauty. And morbidly...
Lady, you're just not hot enough to have these opinions. I used to do casting. I can easily equate a woman who will significantly increase my click-through rate on a thumbnail because of how good looking she is. Because before shows, we used to have to do pictures. I would put you on the side of a table. You in London, which isn't even the most attractive city ever, I would put you, like, you wouldn't even make the center of the thumbnail.
Enough, while it might make them desire you, it does not promise respect. In fact, oftentimes it guarantees a level of dehumanization. It is truly fruitless, and we only do it
What would I rate her? Adjustable 6. Probably a little higher with makeup, but like, she's not going to do like real modeling or like get invited on a serious level to be with high level men.
because we were trained by a system not made for us. A system that rewards women for almost exclusively their reproductive value, but then subjugates them for it. So many women are constantly minimizing themselves to fit this impossible mold of perfection. A template that restricts your passion and extinguishes your soul. I see so much collective longing from women for a younger version of themselves. A version with scraped knees and dirt under their fingernails. One that's unapologetically wild and collects knots in her hair like trophies. You do realize that the difference between that blissfully free little girl and you now is the fact that you're no longer living for yourself. You're instead living for a gruff pat on the back and lingering eyes of people who don't care about the inherent value of that joy and authenticity, but rather the value you hold to them. A value that's defined by the shallow physical expectations of a system that will never find worth in a version of you that's truly happy. So many women, Pearl included, are hunting for this empty approval. Some do it by conforming physically, and others do it by sculpting their personality and opinions into something agreeable. But despite the companionship from others lost in the same maze or encouragement from those who created it, the hard truth is it will never be enough. And in the process of chasing the unachievable, you will lose.
Women just have so many words for saying nothing. Jesus, this got 925,000 likes. Holy shit. What is wrong with these people? All right, next they say my personality isn't real.
I'm not the biggest fan of female politicians.
I'm not.
think generally we're too emotional.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like, do I want, in the U.S., I know more about the U.S. political system, so do I want someone with the nuke bomb that could get their period, and then she's in a bad mood? I don't want that personally.
Yeah, I suppose it'd be...
I fear the day we have a woman.
Do you see that? This interviewer, he totally agreed with me, but he'd never say it.
President in the...
Oh, Pearl. I am convinced that this is a bit, like, her personality can't be real at this point. But I will say that when she first started her way into social media and talking about things, there were a lot of things that I was like, yeah, I agree with that. She did make some good points at one time. And what really sucks about that is the points that she has made that are totally valid, they're now invalid because of the type of fool that she's made herself out to be. So if it's a bit, I get it. She's doing great. But if it's not, then...
See, none of these women can attack the argument. It's all, now your personality isn't real.
She's really doing a huge disservice to those other movements. She was very anti-Miss Sandry culture, which is great. But then it goes so far.
This is how women rationalize. This is why conservative women, they always tone police. You can say that, but you can't say that. Bitch, then turn off my show. I mean, then turn it off. Nobody's putting a gun to your head and say, you must watch Pearl.
Into saying something...
Like, it's like they just want to be offended. Why are you here? What? Leave. Go. Be gone, fly.
So moronic. Like, the way that she put it, too, was just like, okay, I'm afraid of a woman having a nuke bomb. And
I am terrified. But I can't say that on this platform. I denounce.
she gets her period. It's just a very strange thing to say.
Okay, so then next we got... more we got here.
Why as women do we have the sensitivity to aging? It's okay.
Okay, so this was a clip from a podcast I did where I said 25-year-old women are better looking than 35-year-old women. And all these 35-year-old women tweeted me their selfies to prove they are still hot. What is wrong with you? I mean, I'm 28. If I see women that are 18, 19, 20, they're better looking. It's okay. Aging's part of life. Everyone ages. Everyone gets old. Except men. I mean, men age like fine wine. You know what I mean, ladies. But watch them freak out.
Hey, it doesn't have to be the end of the world. By your 30s, like, you're not supposed to be sexy anymore. Yes, I said it. I said it.
Okay. Now I want to give context. Are there some women that are attractive, they're sexy in their 30s? Sure. But with half of Gen Z being overweight, it's certainly not the majority. Usually by their 30s, there's some sort of bad decision women have made where they have a lot of debt or baggage. And yeah, I think that's. Oh, and I think it's kind of sad when you thirst trap. Like, okay, if you see a 22-year-old woman thirst trapping, no one really thinks too much of it. They're like, she's young and hot. But 32, it starts to get sad. 42, it's definitely sad. And 52, you think she has a mental illness. Like 32, maybe it's like, she's still kind of hot, okay. 42, maybe she's still got it barely. 52, done.
Shoot the messenger. I don't care. I don't care. Shoot the messenger. Because by your 30s, you're supposed to have developed, wait for it, guys, character. Yes. 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 And, looks and looking sexy and all that. Guys, it just looks kind of sad in your 30s. It's sad. Like, this is delusion. Like, it's embarrassing.
What? She said something that blew my mind. She said, "You're not sexy."
I mean, none of these girls are sexy now. Like, none of them would really help me with a thumbnail.
In your 30s because now you have character? Yeah. So
6, 5, 6.
A lack of character equals sexy? Yes. What?
Plain, yeah. I mean, none of them are hot. Can we just... All right, let's do Pamela Anderson Young. Hot. That's hot. That's an 8 to 10. If she goes anywhere, she will be the most attractive in the room. Now let's look at her now. She's okay for her age. Keyword, for her age. Okay. So this woman apparently advocates for men, but is saying I look old. Women just do these, like, there's so many videos like this online where it's just video after video after video just attacking me. It's like, all right, I get it. You guys don't like me. Can you go away?
That's one of the funniest things I've ever heard. Hi, my name's Tammy and I advocate for men. And I have been advocating for men since 2020 on this exact account. I'm not Pearl. I don't even like Pearl. Pearl says some horrible things like women don't deserve to vote because they're not smart enough. And she says
It's pretty based.
very P3DO and pedophilic comments, things that I don't support and would never support. I have not supported Pearl. I've supported a few of the things that she has said.
I won't lie, that was the worst troll I've ever done. That was not smart. That was not smart because the women love to call people pedophiles. Like they just love. It's insane to me. They know, women know that that is a deadly insult. Like if somebody is labeled that their life is over. They know that. And so what they do is they group in everything with that. One time I told a woman to get off of Twitter and watch her kids. And she called me a pedophile. I'm like, if anything, I'm helping keep your kids safe. There's another woman that was thirst trapping with her daughter and teaching her daughter how to thirst trap. And I said, hey, maybe don't do that. She called me a pedophile. There was another woman. What did she do? It was, oh my God, there's one more and I just blanked on what it was. But they know that's like a deadly insult. And so they put anything as it. They throw that word around. Yeah. Yeah. Now, it'd be one thing if there was a court case against me or like something. Any evidence of me doing nothing. Nothing.
She has said a few valid things. She gets it right every once in a while, but most of the time she's really far off. The fact that y'all are in my comment section thinking that I'm Pearl. But, you know, I don't happen to think Pearl is the most attractive woman on the planet.
Just shows you social media delusion because the fat woman called me ugly. This old lady called me ugly. The mid called me ugly. You guys got to stop lying to these women to sleep with them. I blame you guys in the chat. I really do. I know some of you have... There was too many ones in there about lying to get sex. There's way too many ones.
But I will take it as a compliment because I think Pearl's so...
You can easily tell in the USA there are never more than 10 10s in the US in any one year. That's what is sad. Even women who win beauty pageants in the 50 states know that most of them are 6 to 9s. Yeah, they've called Myron that when he said how men over... Oh, they've called Myron that when he said that men all over the world like women 18 to 24. Todd, Pearl looks would have sent a $50 one time, but your web page wouldn't let me do anything except buy a subscription. We probably just didn't click the super chats that show. Kenny, don't lump me in with these people. Hey, I saw a lot of 5s in the chat, okay? Pamela Anderson on Tool Time. She was a 10 at that time. Pearl, Pamela has always had Hep C. Is that an STD? I think it is. Pam, amazing young old Pam. Communists don't wear much makeup. It's amazing how many people out there think they can reach a big audience, have something important or unique to say, like teenage girls trying to rally others who they hate. Being offended is the best way for women to pass their adrenaline button. They can't stand Pearl, but they watch to try to see how bad she is. Pearl, it's always the character they attack. Then when you react, they'll say something like, why are you getting up in your feelings? Somewhere she has a simp who's hating his life. They are hate watching Pearl seriously sad. Let's see if there's any more you guys want me to read. Okay, let me go back to the bottom.
Somewhere in her mid to late 20s.
I am too old to lie to a woman. I play the law of numbers. Ask enough and someone will say yes. Joel, sorry, I'm barely listening to your presentation because this chat is so funny.
Listen, I'm going to be 50 in just a few months, so if you confuse me for a 20-something girl, well then, hey, that's a fucking win for me. Anyways, again, I always say this internet is free. It's wild. Stay triggered.
I actually find it more insulting when women call me pretty. It's very rare it happens, right? But I got more people saying I was more attractive when I was at my chubbiest. And it was mostly from women because women want you to be ugly. And so what they'll do is the 8 to 10s, they never really hype up, but the mids or below mids, they'll hype up. So it's really not a good thing when women start complimenting you in general. Let's see the other one.
That's one of the funniest things I've ever heard. Hi, my name's Tammy and I
Well, that was all the hate videos I got today. Let me read the chat. But yeah, so this is really the strategies that women use to insult you. It's you're a pick me, you just hate women, some sort of shaming tactic. The TradCon ladies do that too. A real man would do this, a real woman would do that. Some virtue signal to morality, guilt, insulting you, and the need to be right. If a woman is called other women pretty, then it's always a fat lie. Kevin, I don't think I ever saw you chubby. I was kind of chubby for a second. It was very early. Well, it depends. Some would say I still am chubby. I don't know. It depends what people classify it. But I used to be a little bit heavier. So anyways, guys, thank you so much. The chat was hilarious today. You guys are so funny. Please like the video. Please like the video on your way out. There's 700 people in here. It'd be really helpful if we could get to 1,000 likes on the video. That's the number one thing YouTube looks at to push out these streams. And as you know, they're shadow banning us, so every like helps. Please go to theaudacitynetwork.com if you can and get the $80 a year membership. It helps sponsor our show. And you also get access to all my old content. And at some point, I'm thinking about... Actually, we'll get into that a different day. Oh, and there's an Audacity Network app, so you can get it on either of the app stores. Like the video, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.